Hello everybody, Josie here. So today's video is first and foremost a thank you to everybody that has subscribed to my channel over the last couple of years. I hit 250 subscribers, and I know there's channels out there with thousands of subscribers, but it makes me so incredibly happy and grateful that people are enjoying the videos that I'm making, because quite honestly, I make these videos because I like talking about books and I'm really passionate about it and it's fun and I actually enjoy it. And there's not many people in the real world in my life that actually want to hear me talk about books and film and literature and all of that stuff. So I just kind of have fun talking about it to you all, and the fact that people are enjoying it, and you know, I see comments, and it's just so amazing. So thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you to everybody who watches the videos and just who enjoys them. Yeah, so that's kind of the first thing I wanted to do. And then the second thing was actually a subscriber requested video. So Moonbook is amazing. They have been one of my OG original subscribers, and they are so wonderful, such a beautiful person. And what they requested was a video on sort of the books that kind of remind me of the current climate that we're in. So certainly here in the UK, and I know a lot of countries all over the world, people are being quarantined and in lockdown, and it's a pretty horrible situation that we're facing with the virus that's happening. And for me, whenever I'm in sort of an unsure situation in the real world, I like to kind of dive into literature and into other worlds, into books, into film. And really, when this whole kind of thing kicked off, one of my first thoughts was, I feel like I'm in a film. This almost doesn't feel real. I feel like this is a plotline of a book. And for me, kind of escaping into the alternate reality of a book that's kind of similar to what's happening around me really kind of helps me. And I don't know if it would help anyone else, but I thought I would, based on Moonbook's request, I would do a few books that kind of remind me in one way or another of the current situation, and that I'm kind of reading and that have resonated with me. So some of the books were books that I had previously read. So the first one that really sharply comes to mind is a book called The Last. And I read it, oh God, a while ago, and I don't really know if I talked too much about it. I listened to it on audiobook. And the premise of the book is that you've got a bunch of people that were in a hotel in Switzerland, or they're in a hotel in Switzerland, and sort of war, America does something aggressive and war kind of breaks out, and I think there might be some chemical warfare involved. I don't remember exactly. But the premise is that people are fleeing, you know, cities are people obviously being killed, that there's war, people are fleeing, and these people in this hotel are kind of the last, they feel like they're sort of the last survivors. And there is kind of a murder mystery element to this book as well, which I wasn't that keen on. It was all right. It was just, I was more interested in this premise of this society and making this new society of these people living in essentially this lockdown situation where they're too afraid to leave the hotel. You know, in the beginning, they still have, you know, the internet and supplies and that, but that starts to dwindle. Then suddenly the internet is cut off. And as you can imagine nowadays, were the internet to cut off, I think people would lose their minds. So that kind of element, and then also later on in the book about, you know, rebuilding society and venturing out and that, and I thought it was really interesting. And it kind of, now, at the time I was just like, oh, that's, you know, it's like a dystopian, cool kind of book. I wasn't really, but now it kind of really resonates with me. And a similar vein is a book called How I Live, or is it How I Live Now? Yeah, How I Live Now, sorry. I read this book many years ago, and I really loved it. It is basically about siblings, these kids, teenager, like I think they're teenage kids, and they're staying with, I can't remember if it's an aunt or a relative or someone in the English countryside. And basically World War III breaks out. So it's more again on that kind of war theme. But where it also resonated with me was their parents are away at the time. And because of what happens, countries shut their borders. No one can travel. These kids are kind of stuck by themselves because their parents can't get back. They can't get to their parents. And then as time goes by, again, they've got to learn to survive on their own. And again, taking away technology. So, you know, phone systems and internet and that doesn't work. And, you know, how would we actually survive in those kind of scenarios? It's an incredibly moving, interesting book, and it stayed with me for a very long time. Like I said, I read it years ago, but now it's kind of coming to the forefront of my mind a little bit, and I think it's one that I'm going to pick up and read again. Then I guess moving more towards this idea of containment and confinement, another book that I've read a while ago is one called Wool, and I think it's the first book in a series. I haven't read the rest, but the premise is, again, it's a dystopian. I really like dystopian novels. And it has this group of people kind of living in this underground bunker type of scenario. And again, they're sort of locked in, they fear going out, they fear the outside world, they've created this new society within this bunker. Apparently things have gone wrong in the past, we're not entirely sure what's happened. And about power structures and how those in charge might be lying to you and all of those kinds of things. And again, it's fascinating from that sort of lockdown, afraid to venture out element and that kind of dystopian, having to rebuild society element as well. And then another one that reminds me of the whole sort of lockdown scenario is one that I just recently read and reviewed and really loved, and is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Now this one, well, it has both the contagion element and then the lockdown element. So this book is about a group of girls that are in a girls' school on this island, and this sort of virus breaks out where these girls have got all these like mutations and things kind of happening to their bodies, and they've been locked, they're sort of in lockdown in the school because the rest of the world obviously fears this, and nobody wants to come there and catch possibly this contagion and this virus. So these girls are sort of locked away kind of to deal with themselves. And you know, this is, yeah, quite poignant at the moment. And then a kind of, again, on that more virusy theme, for sort of total escapism, I love kind of fantasy books. And for me, that whole idea of virus and infection really kind of resonates and dovetails with zombies and zombie virus. So for me, this is more sort of, I don't want to say the word fun, but in a way really escaping out of what's happening in the real world and looking at a real fantasy version of it. So one that I adore, and I probably mentioned quite a lot, is this book here, Girl with All the Gifts. There are some really tough elements in this, and it really questions society and how we treat people. But also the premise is there's this infection that creates these sort of zombie-like symptoms and people. And obviously others are afraid to get it. You've got these children, and again, they're being confined and contained, and people are coming in to look after them, but they're really scared. They're scared to kind of catch the zombie virus. And this is a great book. There is also I believe it's actually the prequel to the story, so it's called The Boy on the Bridge. And I'm definitely, that's like on my list to read at the moment. If you've read it, let me know down below. Tell me if you liked it, but I really, really loved The Girl with All the Gifts. Again, on that zombie theme, books that I've literally just reviewed is Dread Nation and Deathless Divide by Justina Ireland. This is set sort of at the American Civil War era, and it talks a lot about race and again, how we treat people, and there's all of these great themes around it. But also you've got this idea that there is a zombie virus and it's being spread, so you'll be bitten and you'll become a zombie. And these girls that are at this combat school, they are trained to protect rich families. And, you know, if they do venture outside, they have to protect them against these zombies and against getting bitten and getting this infection. And again, you've got a containment element where people are, you know, afraid to go out of these towns, to go out of their houses, because they might be infected and might be bitten and then infected with the zombie virus. Then another book that I have just downloaded and I'm dying to read is by an author that I adore, and I didn't know these books existed, and I don't know why, I've just suddenly found them, and it's an author called Jen Wilde. Now, you can see above me here, this is my Jen Wilde shelf. It's got The Bright Side is Queens of Geek and Going Off Script, which I adore, but this is apparently an older series. This might have been the first series that Jen Wilde wrote, and it's called the Eva series, and I've downloaded, I think, the first book. There's 3 of them. And it's basically set in Australia, which is quite cool, sort of not always in the US or the UK where books tend to be set. And it's about they describe her as a kick-ass teenage girl, and she's basically fighting, again, a swarm of zombies that have overtaken, there's a virus and they've overtaken Australia, and it's set in Australia. It's got to do with like friendship and love and then survival, and also in the synopsis it says Australia's being cut off from the rest of the world, so they've had to kind of shut down. Obviously really resonates again with the time, and I do love a zombie book, so that's on my list to read. Then another, same vein, on my list to read is a book called Feed. So that's the first book of the, I think it's called the Rising trilogy. But it's by another author who I've read, who I've loved, and it's Mira Grant. She also writes Shauna Maguire, but Mira Grant's Into the Drowning Deep I love. And Feed is, again, it's so on the nose for kind of what's happening, so I think it's after the event, so again, a dystopian where humanity had actually cured all diseases, and then they had this outbreak that caused, again, zombie-like or zombies to rise. And I believe these books actually are after that event. So they're kind of looking back at it and looking back at history and actually what happened with this virus and how it was handled. And that is, I think, going to be incredibly fascinating. So really looking forward to reading that and the other books. Again, if you've read any of these, let me know in the comments what you think. And then another book that I would say is very on the nose right now is Station 11. So Station 11, I read, a couple of years ago now, and loved. It's by Emily St. John Mandel. I think she's actually got a new book that has just come out, Glass Hotel, I think, which sounds really interesting. But this one is about a contagion that wipes out most of humanity. And then you've got the people that are left, I think this is several years later, the main part of the story, and, how they're rebuilding society and how they're living and sort of what's happening after this contagion has swept the world. So incredibly poignant. Like I said, I read it a few years ago. I'm actually in my library's audiobook queue to reread that on audiobook because I just kind of want to delve back into that. And then, weirdly, two books that I'm currently reading also have sort of themes. I don't know what it is. Art imitating life, life imitating art, I don't know. So I'm currently reading, I don't have the dust cover on. The dust cover is so beautiful, but so are the sprayed edges. This is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. And this is good. This is actually a signed copy. I'm just gonna signed. This is a trip. So you can see where my bookmark is. I've kind of just started. I think I'm like on 100 pages. No, not even. Yeah, 90 pages. And it's so weird. It's weird but good. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. However, it's the synopsis of this. So you've got New York City, and it's like the city itself is alive, and it's battling against, again, like a contagion or invading force into the city. And where I've put the marker here, it says, as part of the thing, it says it's like a goddamn disease, and it's like trying to infect the city, and you've got sort of slightly alien-esque bits going on where there's tendrils coming out of people, but all of this stuff. But again, it weirdly has some of those sort of themes at the moment, but I'll talk more about this book because it's fascinating and really different. And then the other book that I'm currently reading, because I can't just read one book, is this one over here. It's Kim Harrison's Dead Witch Walking. Now, this is an urban fantasy series that I read years ago, so the early 2000s, I think these were published, and even late 90s. And this is basically a series about Rachel Morgan. She's the dead witch in question, and she's not dead. She basically is a kind of a bounty hunter detective, and her partner is a living vampire. She also has a pixie partner. It's wonderful fun. But also, what's really interesting is in this book, so the premise is that you've always had humans and I think they're called Indorlanders in this series, but basically like magical creatures, witches, vampires, werewolves, pixies, anything and everything in here. And they kind of lived sort of side by side, and then something happened with a tomato. So tomatoes were infected with a virus that killed most of the humans. And, you've got the humans that are left, but it didn't affect the other worldly creatures. So you've kind of got this battle of wills between the humans that are left and the kind of magical folk. so that's kind of interesting, and it was in the book. It's called The Turn, and actually, I mean, I never, again, because it just didn't resonate with me at the time, I didn't really give much thought to it. But there is actually, Kim Harrison's written kind of a prequel to the series. The series has like, I think 14 or 15 books. It has loads of books, but she's written a sort of a prequel book called The Turn, which talks about what happened in these genetically modified tomatoes, and kind of what got into them, and how this kind of virus happened. So that might be one I'll be picking up pretty soon, but I'm just kind of delving back into this, and I might be going through the rabbit hole again. I've literally got this one only so far, and I am loving it. Again, I'm on page 70, and I'm like, oh, I love this book. I remember how much I loved the characters and how they made me laugh, and just, yeah, it's great escapism. Right, so that's my spiel. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found some books out of it. Again, let me know if you've read any of those ones that I'm, currently reading or planning to read, and what you thought. And again, thank you all very much. Thank you for watching. Much love to you all. Hope you're all well and safe, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye-bye.